think my strengths at that point were my ability to appeal to large numbers of people and to build this broad coalition. My weaknesses, frankly, my main weakness was that I had no experience of governing at that point. And governing is a lot tougher than campaigning. I think now, with the experience of governing, I've got a far clearer perception of how difficult the decisions are and how in the end you can't always predict whether you're right or wrong. You've got to go with what you believe. And so, in a way, I started as a politician anxious to please all the people all the time and finished as one more concerned with trying to do what I thought was right, even if it was not always popular. It's very, very similar. In my view, running a country today is very similar to running a major company. And it's got the same skill set. And one of the skills is to be able to carry on with your long-term strategy, even as day-to-day events are buffeting you and knocking you this way and that. And, I ended up really paying a lot of attention to ensuring that the short-term issues and decisions, which matter dramatically at the time, you think, that those decisions did not dislocate the long-term decisions necessary for the good of the government and most important of the country. And I think that's one of the toughest things to do in leadership. Well, the Queen is very much she is the head of state, but it's not. She doesn't engage in the day-to-day politics at all in our country. So it's the analogy is less between the board of directors and the Queen than between the board of directors and I guess maybe the cabinet or public opinion. I mean, it's you're very much aware, as you are as a CEO, that you're not completely free to do whatever you want, however you want. So, but it's less the Queen; it's more the outside influences of public opinion, and then the inside influences of the people working around you. The thing with the single currency is that, and I was very much there when it was first launched, it was a project inspired by politics, but it is ultimately in its details economic. And the problem with the single currency is that because it was launched as a political project, the economics in a way took second place. But what then had to happen was the economics were realigned with the politics. And that is what has not happened. So what we've now got to do for the single currency to remain to succeed is we've got to take some fundamental decisions. One, that we want it to stay, and if we do, we've got to put the full battery of European fiscal and monetary policy behind it. And secondly, we've got to understand that we will need to reform substantially in Europe if the single currency is to work. But you cannot carry on in a situation where you pretend that just because you've got a single currency, it means your economies are aligned. You've got to align them, and it's really as simple as that. But it's very hard to do. First of all, the only way countries are going to develop is by having open markets, strongly educated workforce, and the right partnership between public and private sector. And that is also the best way to handle these environmental issues. The answers will not just come from government. They will come from government setting a framework within which we develop the disruptive, clean technologies of the future. And that's what we should do. So I don't think capitalism is in contradiction to the environment, provided we have a framework for developing new ways of consuming more sustainably. And that's really the challenge that we've got to undertake.